gosh, it's great. The aerial looks like Mickey Mouse's leg.
Fiat 500 Abarth in red, proper red, very bright, flamey kind of reds. Last week I put out a request to drive a Fiat 500 Abarth. Apparently that's what posh people take, and I wanted a red one as well. And look at this. Oddly enough, that was on the way back from collecting a car from a chap who happens to own one. It worked. I don't know why, but I've always fancied having a go in one. I mean, they're definitely not what you would call a manly car. It's more like a shoe or a bar of soap in red. But they don't get much more sporty than this, or more small. And yeah, small, sporty. It is definitely GTI territory, even though it's not called that. Why don't we have a little look around it, eh? I'll tell you what I think. Maybe you'll agree with what I think.
This is the sporty version of the Fiat 500, of course, hence the name Abarth the Scorpion, and Abarth underneath there. We'll find the Abarth thing all over the place. Oh, there as well, and there, and just in case you was confused, there and there as well. And 595 is the model number. Is there one around the back as well? Yes, there is. Of course there is. Yes, and Lingotto as well. Apparently, that's the racetrack on the roof. I'm really pleased to have got that bit in there. The thing is though, has it got too many stickers? Has it got too many badges? It reminds me of a baseball cap, a Formula One baseball cap with all the badges all over it. It's not good enough to just tell you, it's got to shout. Got to tell you over and over again. It's like a petulant child. We don't want to take any chances of this car being seen and not understood as an Abarth. Look, I've just spotted another one. This one's a bit Ferrari-esque, isn't it? That's just proud to be Italian, as is that one. And then of course we have the Scorpion version as well. And the Scorpion can even be found on the wheels. Look at that. Yep. I bet it's got a matching set of tyres on it, a matching set of tyres, not one or two part ones from the local tyre place. What this car manages to do is accomplish the unbelievable, which is, of course, looking really cute and really angry at the same time. Yeah, it's basically the toddler of cars. But do I like it? It's certainly reflecting onto my face somewhat. Gosh, I feel like Father Christmas. It does have a very, very chinny chin chin, and then these kind of spectacles that are worn over the nose rather than over the eyes. It has to be said that Fiat did a fabulous job of remaking the 500 because it does look so small. But it's not as small as the original, of course, but it's smaller than most of the cars that you see on the road today. And this rear boot looks like it's going to be exceedingly compromised. Shall we open it up and have a look? There's the boot. Oh, and look, another Abarth badge. That one looks a bit like a beer mat though. The boot isn't quite as small as I was expecting actually, but the parcel shelf, well, it's almost the parcel shelf that you have just to say that you've got one. Twin exhausts, of course. Oh, and another Scorpion there. And then within the rear lamps we have these funny things here. It's almost like somewhere to wipe your feet. It is lovely and clean in there though. Before I do anything else, let's do a door shut sound. Sounds like a Vauxhall. Actually, these handles are quite good. They look like they might be made of metal, but of course they're not. But they still look good. Oh, another Abarth. And another one. And another one. I don't know why, but these seats remind me of bondage gear. Abarth, again, another Abarth. Wow, we definitely haven't got... Underneath the bonnet we'll find a whizzy little 1.4 turbocharged engine with another Scorpion. I'm surprised there's not one on the battery, but as you can see it's rather compact. It's a tiny little bonnet for a tiny little car with a relatively small engine, yet it's crammed, absolutely crammed in there. Let's take a look inside, shall we? Let's see what it's like beyond the bondage seats. Now, clearly, there's so little room in the back of there, I wouldn't even attempt to get in. But as I suspected, once sat in the driver's seat, it doesn't actually feel that small. There's loads of headroom, and although it's quite a narrow car, it's not an MG midget. Look what I've spotted. Ha ha ha! They're everywhere, aren't they? That's a bit like an emu's beak. Open the door, and the dash speaks to you in our Abarth language as well, of course. There's a surprise. This all looks rather nicely put together, actually. Nice plastics. Oh, a turbo boosty thingy. Nice vents. Gosh, it's actually really good. Oh, it's only a 5-speed box as well. That's a novelty. In fact, I prefer that. Oh, beyond the £1.40 down there, we can see Abarth again, and in the cup holder as well. I wonder if I'll miss any of these. The switchgear feels a little bit on the flimsy side, but you know, it is a Fiat, and they're not supposed to be that good with this kind of thing. Steering wheel, really nice. That's very Ferrari-esque indeed. I'm going to turn the radio on. Oh no, oh look at that! Well, there's a surprise. It has a sport button as well. I wonder if you can sport stationary like you can in Rover 75. But that's unusual because that looks like you press that in, but the whole thing presses in instead. It's quite a nice clear radio, that actually. And the nice buttons on the radio itself. I like that. Starting it up is easy enough, and it doesn't sound particularly loud. Averaging of 42.3 miles per gallon, that's quite good. Pulling out the junction, the visibility out the side windows not that great because the seat's in the way of us slightly. So we go along the nice calm start in this car, looking for the electric window switch, couldn't find it, now I have found it. And what can I say straight away? Well, I do have an impression there's quite a lot of road noise from these wheels. Didn't actually look to see how big they are, but maybe they're exceedingly big or hard tyres, I don't know. But the steering feels really nice. At the moment I've just got it in normal mode, so the steering's very light, and the throttle response isn't as good as it would be once you press that sports button. I wonder if it does something else as well. I don't know, we'll find out in a minute. But it's funny actually, because the seat feels a bit small. Okay, gear change is nice. What I'm hoping for though, of course, is a bit of proper sprightly action once I press that sport button and let that little turbo spool up and slingshot me down the dual carriageway. There we go, sport button activated. Currently in sport queue at the moment. That's interesting. There's a definite kind of lunge once you get to sort of 3,000 revs. About 2,000 now. Gosh, the steering feels really good actually. And 3,000 there. It's a really very exciting little car. Gosh, it's great. I was expecting it to feel quite good, but it does. It's a really engaging little thing. It's like it really is a happy little puppy that's just properly yanking on the lead to go out for a walk. That's good. The gear change is ever so slightly rubbery, I would say, but the steering's spot on. The steering's really good. It's got one of those wheels with a flat bit on the bottom. I'm never really sure the point of that, but the actual feel of the steering wheel is really good in your hands. It feels really purposeful, and after a mile of driving it, I've got to say I'm sold. I love it. I think it's brilliant. I really do. It manages to tick quite a few boxes. It is quite quick. I mean, it's at least nippy. Well, it's a bit more than just a bit nippy actually. I'd say it was quite quick, but it has a really nice shove just around that 4,000 mark, and it just feels really good. It feels like you're doing something not naughty, but grown up. I don't mean grown up, not grown up, childish. I really should get these words right. Turbo's not really doing anything. You can feel that bit of a lag there until you get to about 2,000 RPM. Then it starts to wake up and shake its little head and be ready to run after the big stick. I was fully expecting it to have a proper boy racer sound to it as well, but it kind of doesn't really. It's quite tame. It's a happy car. That's obvious right from the off. You look at it, it wants to go out for a drive. You get in it, you drive it. It wants to stay driving. It clings on really well on the bends. Don't push it too hard, obviously, because that would be rude. It does feel genuinely really rather planted. It's fantastic. I kind of want one now. And now we're back into city mode, really, because, well, there's not much chance of going very quickly in a small traffic jam. So I may as well switch that sport mode back off and enjoy the super light steering. I've got to say that it kind of makes me want to drive just an ordinary 500 now, rather than just the sporty one, because I reckon I'll like that as well. I reckon I'll just find that to be really rather cute and charming and happy-go-lucky, just like a really good friend that never really gives you any hassle. I can really see that. The standard Fiat 500 is a bit like that friend you had at school that wasn't the most dynamic of personality, but always laughed at your jokes and basically made you feel good about yourself because you could entertain somebody. And now I'm wondering whether actually I've got that the wrong way round, whether, driving a Fiat 500 makes you that person that isn't really very interesting but is likeable to have oh gosh, what am I doing? Right. No, this analogy has gone too far, and I've dug myself into a hole and I can't get myself back out, and there's no ladder available, so I'm just going to have to stop talking before I make myself sound really stupid. Being sat in traffic isn't the most enjoyable part of any test drive, but it does give you another moment to just reflect on what you're actually sat in. And what I am sat in is a surprisingly nice little car. I knew I was going to like it. I just knew I would, but I like it quite a bit more than I was expecting. And not only that, I mean, the build quality is quite good. It doesn't feel like premium material anywhere. The plastics are actually quite scratchy in places, but it all feels solid and put together properly. It doesn't feel like 10 years from now it'll be in bits on the bathroom floor. Why it be in the bathroom floor? Maybe the idea is it would fit in the bathroom. I'm sure it would actually. Mind to mention there's not a lot of room in the back. There'd be enough room for very small people, but the trouble is, with the exception of most, small people don't stay small and they get big. So you couldn't have something like this because you've only got one small child, because that one small child would grow up into somebody who's quite a lot bigger than a small child. That's when you buy yourself a Vauxhall Zafira and suddenly life's not got the same fizz that it used to have. But then I guess after a few years the children grow up and you could have yourself a small car again and you'd have one of these. So the Fiat 500 Abarth, not just the Fiat 500, but the Fiat 500 Abarth. What do I think? You know what I think. I think it's fabulous. I like it so much, I'm going to go and buy one. Actually, I'm not, because it wouldn't really work for me. The trouble is, it is too small. It would simply be a toy, and that's it. And they're not exactly cheap, because loads of people want them. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't lots of people want one of these cars? Because it is, well, it's just great. Basically, that's it. It's just It's just great. Yeah. That's the conclusion. It's just great. It is. It's fantastic. It's great. I really like it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. 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 Oh yes. Yes.